everyone together. Hare Krishna devotees, because I'm a humble obeisances of Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our evening Bhagavad Gita circle reading program. This evening we will be continuing with chapter 5, verse 14, and the chapter is entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness, and it will be read and explained to us by His Grace Balabhadra Bhattacharya Prabhu from ISKCON Atlanta and ISKCON Philadelphia. Hare Krishna Prabhu, accept my obeisances of Prabhupada.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very clear, Prabhu, and it's all yours.
Okay. If I run out of voice, I'm going to call on you.
Oh, okay.
Namo Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pacharni Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Destarni. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gopakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita chapter 5, starting with text 14. Nakartvitam nakarmani lokasya srijati prabhu. The karma phala samyogam sabhavastu prabhartate. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. Purport: the living entity, as will be explained in the 7th chapter, is one of the energies or natures of the Supreme Lord, but is distinct from matter, which is another nature called inferior of the Lord. Somehow the superior nature, the living entity, has been in contact with material nature since time immemorial. The temporary body or material dwelling place which he obtains is the cause of varieties of activities and their resultant reactions. Living in such a conditional atmosphere, one suffers the results of the activities of the body by identifying himself in ignorance with the body. It is ignorance acquired from time immemorial that is the cause of bodily suffering and distress. As soon as a living entity becomes aloof from the activities of the body, he becomes free from the reactions as well. As long as he is in the city of the body, he appears to be the master of it, but actually, he is neither its proprietor nor controller of his actions and reactions. He is simply in the midst of the material ocean struggling for existence. The waves of the ocean are tossing him, and he has no control over them. His best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness. That alone will save him from all turmoil. Text 15. Nadate kasyachit papam vichayeva supritam vibhu. Agyane navritam jnanam tena muyanti jantava. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. Purport: the Sanskrit word vibhu means the Supreme Lord who is full of unlimited knowledge, riches, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation. He is always satisfied in himself, undisturbed by sinful or pious activities. He does not create a particular situation for any living entity, but the living entity, bewildered by ignorance, desires to be put into certain conditions of life, and thereby his chain of action and reaction begins. A living entity is by superior nature full of knowledge. Nevertheless, he is prone to be influenced by ignorance due to his limited power. The Lord is omnipotent, but the living entity is not. The Lord is Vibhu, or omniscient, but the living entity is Anu, or atomic. Because he is a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. And so, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is never responsible for the actions or reactions of a particular situation which may be desired. Being in a bewildered condition, therefore, the embodied soul identifies himself with the circumstantial material body and becomes subjected to the temporary miseries and happiness of life. The Lord is the constant companion of the living entity as Paramatma, or the supersoul, and therefore he can understand the desires of the individual soul. As one can smell the fragrance of a flower by being near it, desire is a subtle form of conditioning for the living entity. Again, desire is a subtle form of conditioning for the living entity. The Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. Man proposes, God disposes. The individual is not, therefore, omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires, and the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desires of the minute independent living entities. However, when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain to him and be eternally happy. The Vedic hymns therefore declare, Esha hu yeva sadhu karma karayati tam yam ebyo lokebya uni nishate. Esha u eva sadhu karma karayati yam ado ninishate. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities so that he may go to hell. Shitaki Upanishad 3.8. Similarly, the Mahabharata of Vana Parva 31.27 states, Agyo Jantur Nishoyam Atmana Sukha Dukayo Ishvara Prerito Gachet Swaragamba Swa Brahm Evacha. The living entity is completely dependent in his distress and happiness. By the will of the Supreme, he can go to heaven or hell, as a cloud is driven by the air. Therefore, the embodied soul, by his immemorial desire to avoid Krishna consciousness, causes his own bewilderment. Consequently, although he is constitutionally eternal, blissful, and cognizant, due to the littleness of his existence, he forgets his constitutional position of service to the Lord and is thus entrapped by nescience. And under the spell of ignorance, the living entity claims that the Lord is responsible for his conditional existence. The Vedanta Sutras 2.1.34 also confirms this. Vaishamya nagrinyena sapekshvatvat tatahi darshayati. The Lord neither hates nor likes anyone, though he appears to. Text number 16. Ganena tu tat agyanam yesham nasitam atmanam yesham aditya vajganam prakashayati tatparam. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Report. Those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered, but those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvam Jnana Plavena Jnanagni Savakarmani and Nahi Jnanena Sadrisam. Knowledge is always highly esteemed. And what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders unto Krishna. As it is said in the 7th chapter, 19th verse, Bahunam Dhammanan Ante Yanavan Mam Prapajyate. After passing through many, many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him, as everything is revealed by the sun in the daytime. The living entity is bewildered in so many ways. For instance, when he unceremoniously thinks himself God, he actually falls into the last snare of nescience. If a living entity is God, then how can he become bewildered by nescience? Does God become bewildered by nescience? If so, then nescience or Satan is greater than God. Real knowledge can be obtained from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. For Krishna consciousness will certainly drive away all nescience, as the sun drives away darkness. Even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not this body, but is transcendental to the body, he still may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the supersoul. However, he can know everything well if he cares to take shelter of the perfect, bona fide, Krishna conscious spiritual master. One can know God and one's relationship with God only when one actually meets a representative of God. A representative of God never claims that he is God, although he is paid all the respect ordinarily paid to God because he has knowledge of God. One has to learn the distinction between God and the living entity. Lord Sri Krishna therefore stated in the 2nd chapter, 2.12, that every living being is individual and that the Lord is also is individual. They were all individuals in the past. They are individuals at present, and they will continue to be individuals in the future, even after liberation. At night, we see everything as one in the darkness. But in the daytime, when the sun is up, we see everything in its real identity. Identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. Text 17. Tad bhudayas tat atmanas tan nistas tat parayana gachancha punar avitim jnana nirduta kalmasa. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Purport. The supreme transcendental truth is Lord Krishna. The whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the version of all Vedic literature. Paratattva means the supreme reality, who is understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the last word in the Absolute. There is nothing more than that. The Lord says, Mata Parataram Nanyat Kinchid Asti Dhananjaya. Impersonal Brahman is also supported by Krishna. Brahmano hi pratista aham. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is a supreme reality, one whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna. Or in other words, one who is fully one who is in full Krishna consciousness. I'm sorry. One who is fully in Krishna consciousness is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. A Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity, and individuality in Krishna. And equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. Text number 18. Famous verse, Vidya Vinaya Sampani, Brahmane Gavi Hastini, Shuni Chaiva Sapakecha, Pandita Samadharshina. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, outcast. Purport. A Krishna conscious person does not make any distinction between species or castes. The Brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a dog, a cow, and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme. For the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as a friend, yet maintains himself as Paramatma, regardless of the circumstances of the living entities. The Lord as Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahmana. Although the body of a Brahmana and that of an outcast are not the same. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature. But the soul and the super soul within the body are the same spiritual quality. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the super soul, however, does not make them equal in quantity. For the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. The Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and the supersoul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the supersoul is conscious of all bodies. The supersoul is present in bodies without distinction. One more verse, text 19. Yahaiva tire jita sargo jesam samye stitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te stita. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Purport, equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is a sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. As long as one identifies with this body, he's considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of self, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for really
Haribol.
reading in your cold and cough and so thank you so much. And I know it was a little difficult and I apologize, but it was so nice to hear
Oh,
you
no.
read. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Would like to ask devotees, you have any questions, any clarification?
Can you open up the screen?
Oh, yes, Prabhu. Yes. Let me, Vrinda, can you stop sharing and go to gallery view? Gotta have this girl do it.
There you go.
Okay, Vrinda. There we go.
Brenda, you're
Okay.
the best. She's the best.
Any questions from devotees? Any clarification? Any thoughts that whatever we have heard? Please do unmute yourself and ask your question. Prabhu, I have a question and what I the little that I was able to gather from what you have read, Srila Prabhupada talked, stressed a lot about ignorance and how it blinds us, how it darkens our eyes, it blocks our vision. And my question, Prabhu, is as Kali Yuga is progressing, degradingly progressing, we come across situations where people in general are not aware that they are influenced by ignorance. So if one is not aware, how can they come out of it, Prabhu?
It reminds you when Prabhupada talks about intoxication. And he says that why should a person take intoxication when they're already intoxicated with his body? They're already intoxicated. Now they take another intoxication. And he was familiar with that because the initial disciples and followers were intoxicated. There's descriptions, I believe, in Lilamrita that some of the new members, the night before, they were just getting high and intoxicated, and they would come to the temple in the morning to get prasadam and be with the devotees. They were, so Prabhupada understood that you're already intoxicated, thinking you're the body. And now you add another intoxication. That is foolish. So how do we bring them out? Oh, that is the Sankirtan movement. That is the Sankirtan movement, because the power of the holy name, you cannot even estimate it. So if we arrange for the foolish conditioned souls to hear the holy name, for instance, Jagai Madai, if you don't know the pastime from the Chaitanya Bhagavad, you may not know they were hearing the chanting before they met Nityananda and Haridas. They stationed themselves pretty much right outside where devotees were having kirtan in the house. And then one time there was a kirtan and Jagai Madai thought, oh, this is nice, like almost like cinema music, very nice dance music. They were hearing the holy name. So they were being softened before Nityananda, before they had that exchange of hitting Nityananda on the head and all that. They were being and then Nityananda was ready. The devotee has to be ready to help these people. Nityananda was ready. So when they attacked him, he was ready. But he was ready to be humble. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not ready to be humble. He was ready to retaliate. Sudarshan. Nityananda said, no. This is not that fast. This is not, you're not Krishna, okay? You're Chaitanya, you have to bless this people. So the devotee is always thinking, almost like in a crafty way, how to expose people. We meaning the old Sankirtan scenario that I can share with you. If someone would say, oh, that Hare Krishna, you go, what did you say? I didn't quite hear that. You stupid Krishna. Oh man, I think I got some wax in my ear. What did you say? You stupid Hare, damn Hare Krishna. And worse than that, we just kept, egging them on to say Hare Krishna, say Hare Krishna, say Hare Krishna. Every time you say it, it's Chaito Darpana Margina. It's cleansing the heart, and you never know what the end result will be for that person. So for those who are truly in ignorance, which means 99.9% of the world, the best thing in Kali Yuga is the holy name. In the ancient times, they do big pujas and sacrifices. The sages of Naimisharanda came together for 1,000-year sacrifice for the benefit of everyone. First of all, we don't have 1,000 years. Second of all, we're not big stages. So Lord Chaitanya, Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya, has made it easy. Just chant Hare Krishna, not just for you, but for everyone. And Srila Prabhupada in a lecture one time said that you go on Harinam even if the people don't hear. Doesn't matter. Really? Doesn't matter. Because you're chanting as a sacrifice to glorify the Lord. So when you glorify the Lord, water the root of the tree, everyone's happy. Our only business, honestly, is just to make Krishna happy. Everyone is connected. What we were reading here about the super soul. Okay, the super soul is there in every living being. It's like when Krishna was living in Dwarka, 16,108 princesses, wives, there was 16,108 Krishnas. And it's explained that Krishna's already there in the heart, so he just came out and he was with them. But when he went to the Sudharma assembly house to do his work as the leader of Dwarka, all the Krishnas came together in one Krishna and went to the Sudharma house. So Krishna's right there. He's in everyone's heart. And he's just waiting either for them to turn their attention to him or for us to bless them meaning the ignorant people, so that they might one day turn their attention to him. And even if they don't turn their attention to him, they will be blessed. So when Prabhupada says, when you're chanting the holy name, Krishna is pleased. And then when Krishna is pleased, he's the root of all creation. Everyone becomes pleased. You know that pastime with Sudama Vipa. When Sudama came, and then Krishna snatched a little bit of that chip rice, just a little bit. And it was poultry, not even first class chip rice. Like, I think they call it poa in India. It's like really low class. And he had to beg that from his neighbor because he had nothing. And then Krishna said, you didn't come here without anything. You brought something to do, right? No, because he didn't want to, he was so embarrassed. He didn't want to do it. No, you brought something. No. And Krishna snatched a little bit and ate one morsel. And then Krishna's like, I want more. And then the goddess of fortune said, no, you don't need to take more. Just that one little bit will satisfy the whole creation. So we know if we just do that one service that Lord Chaitanya has given us, and Srila Prabhupada has mandated by his personal example, by sitting under that tree in New York, which is now memorialized because Prabhupada sat there. That started the movement. He didn't even have a Madanga. Prabhupada said in the lecture, I had no Madanga, I had no prasadam, I had nothing, just the holy name and faith in the power of the holy name. So we should do the same. If we just remember that simple thing, the essence of all of this is to glorify Krishna. And in Kali Yuga, the way to do that is the Sankirtan Jaggi. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam Eva Kevalam. Klo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva. There's no other way, not by karma, Nastyeva, not by jnana, Nastyeva, not by yoga, Nastyeva. Only by chanting the holy. So that's my simple understanding of that.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. It was really very comforting just by hearing you answer this question. Was very comforting, very promising. And sometimes we need to hear the promise over and over again to keep us stronger and stronger and stronger. Thank you, Prabhu. There's a nice question from Rohin here, and he posted and he said, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. 3 words are used to address Krishna: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Are there peculiar scenarios when they are used to address him differently?
What was the word he said?
He used the word, are there peculiar scenarios when they are used to address him differently, meaning the term Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan?
I'm trying to understand the essence of the question. If he's saying that is Krishna in certain peculiar or specific circumstances addressed as Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan.
Is that what?
That's what.
Yeah, Rohin, is that what it is?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, just like Krishna has many, many names. Like, was it Vishnu Sahasranam? So many names. And the names are specific to the activity. Like Yashoda Nandana. What does that mean? Son of Yashoda. Okay, Vasudeva Nandana, Devaki Nandana. All these different names that Krishna has, specific to, like, Giridhari, lifting Govardhan Hill. So many names. So these particular manifestations of the Lord, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So when we're talking about the Lord, what's it called? Chaitya Guru. When we're talking about the Guru within, then you address as Paramatma. You don't address Krishna Vrindavan as Paramatma. Okay, he's not acting as Paramatma. But in his expansion in the heart of the living being, it's appropriate to address the Paramatma. And there are many prayers addressing the Paramatma directly. And the Brahman, that's in Ishopanasad. And it talks about remove your glaring effulgence. So that is being addressed in Ishopanasad. And what's the other? Bhagwan. Bhagawan's Supreme Personality of Godhead. That can be addressed to Krishna, even in Vrindavan. But he doesn't act like Bhagawan in Vrindavan. But he is Bhagawan. And gradually the residents of Vrindavan begin to understand it. I just finished reading today a chapter in Krishna book, chapter 74, Shishupal, and in the Rajasuya sacrifice. And Shishupal was really berating Krishna like anything. We don't even know his caste. He's low class. We don't know who he is. Like really, really bad. And then Prabhupada would say, that's a glorification because he has no caste. So Shishupal was trying to berate Krishna, but he's actually glorifying Krishna. So Prabhu, the point is, specific to his manifestations, he has the name. So Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Paramatma means the Lord in the heart, Chaitya Guru. You don't say Paramatma when you're talking about Krishna with the gopis, right? Or you don't say the same Krishna with the gopis in the heart. Same Krishna, yes, but in a different manifestation, because Krishna has all kinds of manifestations. He has different types of avatars and incarnations, Purusha incarnations, pastime incarnations, all kinds of incarnations. And even the Manus are manifestations of the Lord. So simplifying the point being that according to his activities, he has specific names. And according to his manifestations, like Paramatma, Bhagawan, like that, Brahman, he has specific names. Yes. So it's appropriate to address him by those specific names in those specific circumstances. Does that make sense?
Hope that helped.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu.
That was
Thank you,
Prasad.
Prabhu.
Okay. I thought it was you, Prabhu. Thank you. And there was a nice post by Mamina where she said that Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. Yes, I read that in Lilamrita, Volume 3, Prabhupada made this so normal and healable. He made us all realize and visualize transcendental transformation to be as sweet as nectar.
That's a great comment. Really nice.
Very, very nice. Thank you for sharing that, Mamina. Any other questions from devotees? Any thoughts? Any clarification?
I see Dr. Brett is there, right?
Hare
There
Krishna,
he is.
Prabhuji.
Make sure you bring your guitar on Saturday.
If I can make it, I will bring my bass, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhuji. These following verses, as Mother Anasuya said, there's a lot of dealing with ignorance and how we can reestablish our individuality in spiritual life. And that had me thinking, on impediments we have in spiritual life, and envy being a big one. And at the end of the 15th verse, His Divine Grace quotes a passage from the Vedanta Sutras where it says, "The Lord neither hates nor likes anyone, though he appears to." And then in the following verse in 16, he goes on to say, give the example, at night we see everything as one in the darkness, but in day when the sun comes up, we see everything in its real identity. identity with the individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. So how does one, when they find themselves falling into this trap of, oh, we perceive whether the Lord hates or likes anyone? It says the Lord neither hates nor likes anyone, though he appears to. And to me, I take that that appears to as our own ignorance, our own thinking. Okay, well, this is my assumption on how the Lord treats another devotee as compared to myself. So how do we set ourselves past that level of envy and just, as His divine grace said in the following verses, reestablish our individuality in Krishna consciousness? One can make steady progress in the path of liberation if we can do so. So, I feel like this is something we should anchor towards.
No, it's important, and it's an accumulation. Accumulation is the right word. We practice regularly. That's why Nasta Price regularly attending classes, regularly reading books. Now, the knowledge that we have is not ours. It's coming from Krishna. So what you're speaking about is having the ability, the understanding to act properly. That comes from Krishna. We don't do anything. We think ourselves to be the doer. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this effort to make this happen, and I'm going to be less envious. All these things we think. But in the reality, it's Krishna doing it. So that I can't find the exact place in what we read just now. But Srila Prabhupada is saying, like, maybe it was the first verse that we read, 14. The embodied spirit master of the state of his body does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the most material nature. And we know that it says in the Gita, what is that? Mamcho, no, not Mamcho. Maya Jakshena Prakriti, Suyate Sacharacha. That material nature, which is being described here, which controls our activities, is controlled by Krishna. So then we're thinking, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop being envious. No, we should increase our devotion service, and then the envy, by Krishna's grace, will be removed through devotional practice. That's all explained in the first canto, second chapter, verses 16 to the verses we read the other day on the street, 16 to 21 or 22. Explained very nicely. Srinvata Sokata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana. Punya Shravana means hearing. Punya means auspicious. Just by hearing, Ridyan Tasto Ibadrai. Ridhi means the heart. So what you're describing, Bhakta Brett, is the troublesome things to the heart. Envy, lust, greed, that's all nasty stuff in our heart. Just by hearing the Punya Shravana, by this auspicious hearing of the Bhagavatam and other literatures given to us by Srila Prabhupada, those things will be taken care of by Krishna. That verse says, Krishna in your heart cleanses all these things. So don't fool yourself for 1 second that you or I have the power to do. We've been in this world since time immemorial, and we have so much dirt. It's just going to be so hard. It seems like it's going to be hard, but by this simple process of punya shravana. So increase your hearing. No, not you, Bhakti Fred. All of us. Increase our hearing. More and more and more and more. If you want to get free from all these things, increase. And when you hear with devotion. So we say Bhajitam Priti Purvikam. So we think, let me Bhajitam Priti, let me clean the floor with love. Let me worship the deity with love. How about reading with love? How about hearing the pastimes of the Lord with love? And then the Dami Buddhi Yoga. Krishna says, okay, now I'll give you the understanding. So that's how I see it about the That's the way I try to operate. I don't depend on me being able to do anything. I just depend on what Prabhupada said about reading the books, chanting, following the regulative principles, associating with devotees, and all these other things to be taken care of.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. No, I think, as you said, as we remain steady in our faith and, we practice these principles, it's as we say in classes, it's just cleaning up the heart and building transparency amongst devotees. And with that transparency, there should be, no question of these anarthas over time. Envy may pop up, but it becomes less and less with this transparent knowledge and inquiring amongst devotees, sharing your thoughts, etc., etc. Not just I guess just keeping to yourself, I guess, more than anything. So when we try to work things out ourselves, we become less open to reveal our struggles.
That's right. That's right. That's a that's a kind of I don't want to say dangerous path, but it's questionable if you try to do it on your own. So another thing which is practical, when you say envy, that means you're envious of someone else who has something. But if I'm envious, say I'm envious of you, that you play guitar better than me. Okay, I'm pretty sure you do. I'm envious of Krishna, not you. Because see, you're not doing anything. It's Krishna through material nature that's doing it. And your talent, your ability, your skills, the things that I'm envious of are manifestations of Krishna. So that's why we have to be very careful. When I'm envious of another person, I'm not envious of the person's a pure soul inside the body. I'm envious of Krishna, the intelligence. I'm the intelligence of the intelligent, the strength of the strong, the ability in that. We're envious of those things. All that is Krishna. So you have to stop and think, wait a minute, I'm being envious of Krishna. It's like being envious of the deity. Why the deity has so much beautiful jewelry and so many nice clothes. I have all this junk. But that's like the same thing. Bhagavad Gita tells us Krishna is the ability in man. And what we're envious of another person is Krishna manifesting through that person. Seriously. So we have to stop and think. Think before we act, before we even conclude something in our mind. Think, that's Krishna. Funny, quick little funny anecdote, whatever. Is the devotee, my godbrother, senior godbrother, Dinanath. Dinanath is an African American devotee, but he was one of the first kirtan leaders to go to India when Srila Prabhupada went back. Beautiful kirtan. And Dinanath used to say, when I see James Brown, I have a spiritual experience. So because James Brown was such incredible entertainer. So Dinanath is saying, look at the talent of that man. I'm seeing Krishna in his talent. He wasn't envious. So very practical. When you're envious of someone, you're envious of some talent or skill or ability or whatever they have, you're being envious in essence of Krishna manifesting in that person. So keep that in mind. That'll help you.
All right, both Babaji. No, as we hear, Krishna is the taste of water. So we have to, beat our mindset and remember, this is envy when really I should be turning my attitude to gratitude that Krishna is giving me the eyes to see, Krishna work through another devotee. So Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
That was a nice realization, actually, Dr. Brett. Thank you for sharing that ending. It was changing it into gratitude. That was nice. Thank you. And there's a nice post by Dhir Krishna Prabhu where he said, Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All the Shri Prabhupada. Thank you so much for the powerful reminder about the importance and glories of hearing.
That's all we have. All we have is this, the ability to hear. Our brains are not that good. This is Kali Yuga, memory is short, lifetime short, wealth is, everything is short. So all we have is the ability to hear. I tell devotees all the time, like, as you get older, Parikshit and I can relate to this. As we get older, our memory starts to go down, and attention, everything sort of goes down. And I said, but it doesn't matter. I have a godbrother who has Parkinson's. He's my dearest godbrother. And he struggles. His hands are shaking like this all the time. His name is Chaudhary. He's the one that's a great book distributor, but he's like really suffering. He said, Prabhu, I'm having, when I'm doing the arti at home, I can't remember which item I was holding. It's that bad. So I said, Chaudhary, don't worry about that. If you can just sit down and read Prabhupada's books, even if you can't remember anything anymore, it doesn't matter. How wonderful that is. So as we get older and we lose all this so-called ability, we still can hear. God forbid Krishna takes our hearing away. Even then we can figure it out. So we have hearing. Don't worry about remembering. Oh, I can't remember where I put my car keys. I feel so bad. That's ridiculous. Forget it. That's Krishna anyway. So we can hear. Put more emphasis on hearing. Increase the hearing more and more and more until, like my godbrother, Hujra, when I saw his interview, reading Prabhupada's books 5 hours a day. I'm trying to catch up with him because he's always been my hero. I'm up to like 2.5 or 3. But 5 hours a day? How wonderful. I mean, you're in the spiritual world, deeply in the spiritual world. When you read Prabhupada's books, 5 hours a day? What the heck are we worrying about in this world? We have access to the spiritual world just by opening these books. Wow. Hey, Parikshit. Haribol Prabhu.
You're on mute.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna, Jai, Honorable Obeisance.
Yeah, merciful Prabhupada.
Yeah, thank you for reading nicely.
That's nice.
You
I
always
just need one chord from you on Saturday. A major. We're gonna do kirtan on A major. It's gonna be sweet. I
okay,
can feel it.
okay.
He's on it.
We'll
He's
see
on
on
it.
Saturday.
Yes, Prabhu.
We are
Hare
all
Krishna.
looking forward to seeing you, Prabhu. Really, devotees are very excited to have you and see you and Vishnu Gada Prabhu, Bubrid Prabhu from Gita Nagari, and another Prabhupada.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, he's
Wonderful.
coming. In fact, he was sharing with me a few months ago that he got initiated by Prabhupada actually at the Philadelphia Temple in 1975.
Oh, he was there. Okay, we're there together then.
Oh, yeah. In fact, he said to us, I mean, he told me that he remembered the Vyasasan that Srila Prabhupada sat on at Philadelphia Temple is the one that we got at the Harrisburg Temple.
You're so lucky.
I am so lucky. Krishna is so kind to us, Prabhu.
Wow.
So,
And Prabhupada took a picture sitting on that Vyasasan on the front porch of the old temple.
do you have that picture, Prabhu?
Yeah, I have to find and send it to you, but it's really not. And I remember because I helped put it on the porch. And what Prabhupada's dhoti, because it was raining, he has a mud on his dhoti because everything was rainy and muddy. And oh, that was an amazing experience. 1975. Wow.
Yeah, so he's also coming this Saturday, and he would like to see the Vyasasan that Prabhupada sat on when he got initiated. That's now at the Harrisburg
Wow.
Temple.
That's one. It's gonna be a great day.
It is. We are all excited, Prabhu. We are all really psyched up. So we're excited and happy and waiting to see all of you on Thursday. I'm sorry, my gosh, Saturday. I'm getting too excited now. I got to calm down. On Saturday, and we want to just remind devotees, tomorrow morning is His Holiness Chandramali Swami's class at 7 o'clock. He's back in Europe. So please do log on at 7 a.m. to hear Chandramali Swami speak. And until then, we look forward to seeing all of you. Have a wonderful evening. Vanchakapatibhyascha kripasindhavevach. Kitanam Bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Haribol Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare
Haribol. See
Krishna.
you